Hi, I'm Christopher Damari, Senior National Account Manager with Barrett Medical, the maker of Burt. Well, one of the things Burt does better is our remote control. Originally, we didn't have a remote control, and it was an oversight because that meant that every time you worked with your patient, you'd have to, if you wanted to change stuff in the game, you'd have to come over and use the mouse and the keyboard. We're like, well, we heard feedback from our partners, hey, we'd like to have a way to interact, that really newfangled technology known as a remote control. Well, we got you. We have a remote control. So the idea here is that you can interact with your patient, you can physically touch them, work with them, and do all the great stuff that Burt does, like add assistance with the press of a button, change the level of the game, adjust it as necessary, play with the gravity, whatever you need to do, you can do it with the remote. What are the features of the remote? Well, the remote has a freeze button, which is essentially a pause button, which allows you to pause the game. We have an end button, which ends the game. So it'll take you out of the game completely and bring you to a menu where you're selecting other things besides the variables of the game. If you want to change the variables of the game, there's a menu button. It looks like 3 horizontal lines. If you press that menu button, it'll bring you to, you guessed it, the menu of options for the game, so you can adjust things on the fly. We have an info button, which has that little info symbol, which you'll see periodically on our screen. And if I hit the info button on the remote, it'll tell us, for instance, in this case, what the air hockey game is, what it does, how to play it. Or you can use it in other places, it'll tell you what the mode is. Consider the info button as a way to quickly access the user manual without actually having to go to the director's office or wherever it is, open it up, find the page. It's all right here on the remote. We have a back button, which is just like the back button that you have on your remote control at home. It'll take you to the previous menu. We have arrows and an enter button. Those are the ones you're going to use the most, so you can maneuver around the screen and, of course, enter to select whatever you want to select. We have dedicated gravity buttons that are it's kind of like your volume button on your remote control. That way, that's the gravity elimination, the mobile arm support of Burt. So the idea is that if you notice your patient's arms dropping a little bit too much or floating away, you can adjust gravity on the fly by just pressing this button. The last feature that I'm going to mention is the time button. It's again like a volume control. You can go up or down. Well, what's time do? Well, our games that are timed default to 3 minutes. If you want to add time or subtract time, you press this button. We had some folks in Illinois once that we had to keep on adding time to the game because they were so engaged and the therapists were so happy with what they were seeing. At the end of the session, we're like, how long do you think that was? Because we had lost track. They're like, probably 10 minutes, 11 minutes. It was 19 minutes. The patient had been engaged for 19 minutes and wanted to keep on playing. And we didn't want to break that concentration and ruin the moment, take us out of that moment. So just, subtly press that time button and you can keep the patient going without anybody knowing. Thanks.